Okay, sekejap. Alright, tadi saya cakap pasal apa? Pasal COVID ni kan. Nak ke mana-mana pun you beringat lah. Stay safe at home. Tapi tak nafikan lah, mungkin kita dah rasa tepu kan. Kat rumah, di mana can have your vacation or holiday. Tapi pilih dekat tempat yang tak ada orang. Tempat yang tak ada orang lah, pergilah. Dekat pandai-pandai lah kan, tempat yang tak ada orang. Sebab mungkin tepu. Kita asyik dekat rumah je. Tapi dalam keadaan yang selamat, jangan pergi. Jangan pergi Cameron, jangan pergi camping tu macam taman-taman tema apa sana tu ataupun. And another one lah Langkawi lah. Itu yang the peak place lah yang orang, semua orang pergi ke sana. So, okay lah tepi pantai pun it should be okay kan. Be okay kalau berkelah kat tepi pantai pun. Kalau lalu dekat drawbridge tu selalu je nampak orang berkelah. Asal Island berkelah, so kita tak ada ramai orang. Dan jangan juga pergi ke tempat berkelah yang ramai orang. Ada juga tempat berkelah yang orang pergi, tak ada orang. Okay, oh yang datang campus semua complete 2 dose. Jadi ada lagi dalam ni yang tak complete 2 dose Ada juga yang tak complete 2 dose ya. So yang tak complete tu ataupun yang belum vaksin tu vaksin tu ada anti-vax ke lah. Tahu kan? Okay, so today actually we're going to look at the new chapter. This under topic lah is considered as second topic. The liability of auditor. And for this topic, you boleh tengok dekat chapter belakang dalam textbook you. Second last chapter, the second last chapter, and it is under chapter 19. Okay. For this week, week 4, you following the teaching plan. For topic 2, okay, Auditors Liability, Liability of Auditors. For this topic, okay. Tak dengar ke? Allah. Sekejap I keluar dulu. Okay, I dah keluar yang masuk balik nak cakap yang you tak dengar tadi yang slow. So now you can hear me now? Can hear me now, class? Clear? So maybe tadi sebab right. So I repeat again. Okay, what we're going to cover is on the new chapter, which is the liability of auditor. So now we are following the teaching plan lah, as we schedule that we going to discuss on chapter 2, liability of auditors. within 2 weeks time. Okay, week 4 and week 5. Okay, for this chapter, um, you can find it at the second last chapter. Okay, second last chapter in your textbook, which is under chapter 15. Okay, so liability of author. Slide yang I attach tu pun dalam slide required length. Tengok dalam slide tu, which is it's over about 80 slide. Okay. So now we look at this new chapter first. Okay. The auditor's responsibilities, legal liabilities in the auditor statements. Okay, these are a few of the terms, okay, that you will come find with within this chapter. Okay, about the risk assessment. So the term of the risk assessment is not for you because you had covered this in the audit one. You must ingat about the risk assessment. Okay, this helps the auditor to identify areas in financial statement that contain material misstatement from the risk assessment that conducted by the auditor. Identify the material misstatement, and from the risk assessment procedure, it will assist auditor to design and performing further audit procedure in completing the engagement. And then professional skepticism is an attitude that should be embedded with the auditor when they performing their professional job scope lah. And then detecting is audit procedure performed to detect material mistake. Communicate and report. Reporting apa ya korang dengar? So now can you hear? Is it better now? Is it better now?
To me, it's better.
Better. Okay. Lain lah kot. Saya pun biasa macam tu bila meeting dengan kawan. Sangat slow. Macam we can hear but we have to focus macam nak kena pasang telinga. Kadang-kadang bagi tahu kat dia pun dia still same. Dia lain lah kot. Okay. Mic. Aku buat dah ni. Suara jauh. Okay. And then another key terms is communicate the report. Okay, reporting the material misstatement that found in the financial statement arising from fraud or error or that relevant to the authorities. And then documentation. Okay, this is the documentation that need to be presented by the auditors lah. You remember that in audit thing kita akan ada few files lah, and one of them is audit working file. So dalam working files tu you can find all the related document lah. Okay. Including with the audit evidence pun akan included dalam, if related lah, dalam audit working files for the current year. Okay. And the doctrine of validity of fraud is legal principle or policy on the contractual relationship between the auditor and the client lah. So kalau yang ni doctrine of the contract tu, kalau dalam at the initial phase, you akan ada yang bind between you ya, the company and the auditor adalah engagement letter. So yang tu yang akan bind lah between the auditor and the client. Okay. Then is the letter of engagement. Okay. The responsibilities of auditor as well as the other responsibility, not the auditor in correspondence to the engagement. Okay, dia bukanlah responsibility yang terletak pada the auditor only, but also to the management lah of the companies. Diorang pun perlu ada tanggungjawab that related to the auditor to performing or completing the engagement. So kalau dalam textbook you tu, you akan nampak dia ada highlight two parts, which is the responsibility of the company as well as the responsibility of auditor. Then here the auditor is responsible to perform the audit in accordance with the approved auditing standard. Okay, according to the ISA. Okay, for obtaining reasonable assurance that the financial statements taken as whole, they are free from material misstatement caused by fraud or. Okay, that's the responsibility. First, you have to do the audit. Follow the. Okay, the objective of ISA set to the auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud in an audit of financial. So we have one of the standard that cover about the responsibility of auditor in fraud in audit of the financial. Okay, in that standard, the auditor is required to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial that due to fraud. To obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the assessed risk of material misstatement, and then to respond appropriately to fraud or suspected fraud identified during the audit. If it is identified but it is not compulsory and it's not the task of the auditor to detect fraud, dia macam within apa yang auditor buat tu dia akan discover lah. Kalau tak, auditor tak jumpa and it is not the main, okay, it's not the main task of the auditor lah to detect fraud tu actually, okay. If when it is discovered, jadi the auditor need to do this following, okay. So yang ini adalah conceptual framework yang kita ada cover dalam chapter on the professional ethics. Okay, the auditors need to be confidential, objectivity, independence, integrity, professional behavior, also being competent and due care and performing the in general, auditor does not have responsibility to plan and conduct the audit with the expectation of detecting fraud. So ini I mentioned just now. So this is not the main responsibility, okay, to detect fraud error or any irregularities, okay, that material effect on the financial statement as prescribed in this ISA, okay, 200, 220, so as all these standards, okay. It is the auditor's duty to investigate and report fraud and irregularities only in circumstances where concerns are raised by evidence. Maksudnya macam I cakap tadi, when conducting the audits, okay, bila they go through out of the sampling that collected by the auditor and they discover this, okay, they, from the evidence daripada sampling, collecting the evidence, and they found that, okay, found that fraud and irregularities, okay, which comes to light in the course of normal audit designed to provide reasonable that the financial report is free of material. And this has covered, okay, in of these cases. You can look at, okay, in this case, the Kingston versus Kingston Cotton Mill. Okay, in Kingston Cotton Mill, it was stated that the auditor were not responsible to detect ingenious and carefully laid schemes of fraud when there is nothing to arouse in the and when those frauds are perpetrated by tried servants to the company. If an auditor has been exposed, okay, if it discovered lah dalam sampling, the evidence tu, kalau dia has been exposed, okay, to the information that requires further investigation, but fails to take further follow-up action, the auditor may not be able to defend himself by claiming that this suspicion has not been aroused. So, bila dah the auditor tu discovered, okay, is the irregular case, okay, dia macam dah terdedah pada information that there is fraud occurred, tapi but the auditor tak cuba further discover on this. So, ini auditor tu dia will it will be bersalah lah, okay, will be found that guilty lah kalau berlaku dalam keadaan macam ni. And in the other cases, in the Thomas Garrett case, the managing director had falsified the inventory records by including non-existing items and understating purchase during the year. In order to effect the deception, the managing director altered the dates on numerous suppliers' invoices. The court held the auditor negligent for failing to take further action regarding the altered invoices. So, and according to the judge, the auditor should not be contented with the managing director's explanation that the relevant goods had not been delivered. Rather, the auditor should have examined supplier statements or communicated with the suppliers. Was held that in circumstances the auditor's suspicion should emphatically have been. So dia maksudnya dalam performing the auditor task ni, kita tak boleh nak just rely daripada, kalau macam you still remember, okay, in some of the kinds of the audit evidence, so yang ni the explanation from managing directors ni adalah from the internal information. So if you compare between the pervasiveness of information, internal versus external, we more reliable from the information generated or provided from the external parties, right? So ini internal. That's why it will be found to be suspended macam case macam ni. Okay. I'm going to go back to the previous slide, class. I kena keluar ke macam mana nak pergi pada previous slide? So macam kena keluar je Going to go to the previous slide. All right. So that's and in the case of Kingston Cotton Mill, auditor is a watchdog, not a bloodhound. And another case is London and General Bank Limited. Okay, in this case, okay, the facts provided from the case, the bank made loans to customer for which it held inadequate security. Interest due on the loans was accrued but not received. Dividends were paid out of profit arising from such interest. The auditor made a full report to the directors in respect to the valuation of these loans and the need for a provision for bad debts against both the loan and accrued interest. However, in his report to the shareholders, auditor merely qualified his opinion. The value of the assets have shown balance sheet is dependent upon realization. So in this case, it showed that the auditor not performing review between his client. Okay. Okay, next is understand the litigious environment in which CPAs practice. The audit professionals have a contractual responsibility with clients. So the contractual responsibility is arised upon the issuing of the engagement letter lah. Okay, I ada highlight tadi okay, about the should at the initial phase or before the engagement or issuing the engagement price. Okay. Auditors are liable for negligence and the number of lawsuits and size of what's removed. Okay. And in the recent market, okay, they are growing. Okay, there is growing of the awareness by financial statement because users are being more educated. Okay, being more educated, and as compared to um, previous time, memang tak berapa nak sedih because of the apa available of the information tu. There's limitation, okay, in getting the information, in getting knowledge, so as the updated. But today's the stakeholders to all the users, they are easily to access with those information lah. Okay, they just Google and they can will be discovered that this information and what happened to the invested company, it is access okay on the updated analytics. And that's why it's growing of the awareness as well as the awareness about the financial. And then there is increased consciousness, okay. The users as well, they aware about their rights towards the company, that are the benefits that getting from the invested company. That one, they always increase consciousness about their right towards the complexity in business drive, complexity in auditing and accounting function. Of course, okay, nowadays the business being complex, okay, because of the borderless transactions, okay, everywhere you can completing. Okay, you can completing the business transaction as well kan. Semua can conduct it online and there is no barriers, okay, for you in it. As well as this also will be complexity lah, complexity of the business as well as we come to the complexity in auditing and accounting functions. That's why when we come to these standards of accounting, okay, there's always keep changes. And if you still remember, if you learn on the revenue, as 1.5, right, on the revenue, there are a lot of things that discussed in that standard kalau you baca standard tu lah. Okay. As well as in terms of the business transactions or revenue recognition for the airlines company kan. So how that revenue would be recognized. Okay. So kalau dalam FRS 115, sorry, not 115, okay, 115 on revenue recognition. So there are a lot of discussion, okay, in that standard. With regards to the revenue recognition in various types of business transactions yang adapting with the global and borderless transactions. Okay, and then another one is the management of the society. Global recession and tough economic times. This is also required or leads to the changing in the legal requirements. Then last period court judgment is the CPA firms. This is also what we have found that firms has been found guilty, and that's the reason that provided by the courts, and then release of CPA firms to settle out of court. Ini pun ada juga berlaku the audit environment, and then judges and jurors difficulty understanding technical accounting and auditing. Okay, when it comes to the accounting matters, accounting issues, and auditing, okay, the judges also have no idea because these are not their expertise, okay, in providing okay, cases that bring to the courts. Okay, that's why nowadays we have the other branches in accounting. We have the forensic accounting. Okay, and those parties is also that normally they are kind of associated with the court lah. Kalau apa-apa kes yang berkait dengan criminal case related to the financial criminal, basically those parties from the forensic accounting lah yang akan involved. Okay, kalau in one of the master in forensic accounting that offered from UiTM. Okay, kalau yang berminat later boleh further your study in master in forensic accounting. So dia apa ni, dalam course tu nanti you akan ada exposure lah dalam cases the court law that related to the financial criminals. Okay, this is because of that person actually ni lah untuk stays the judge, okay, and jurors, okay, when it comes to the difficult accounting matters yang diorang tak boleh nak come out with decisions, and you need those experts to reconcile and explain those matters to the judges. Then this is on okay. ISA 240 additional requirements in detecting material misstatements. arising from fraud or irregularities. And in that cases, okay, the auditors need to maintain an attitude of professional skepticism. They obtain information to identify risk factors for material fraud and then evaluate the entities related controls. So the entities or the firms, the clients related control tu sangat penting apabila any fraud or irregularities that is covered by the auditor in the engagement. And then determine overall response to risks of material misstatement due to fraud, and then discuss the susceptibility to fraud and consider whether identified misstatement are indicative of fraud. Sebab sometimes the misstatement tu is not purposely a fraud lah. Kan, maybe dia betul-betul misstatement yang due to the error of the preparers. Okay? So, covered lah. Fine. In detail about this misstatement that is covered. And then design and perform the related audit procedures in responding to the fraud or irregularities lah. Okay, kalau ada irregularities tu dia nak kena perform certain audit procedure yang boleh capture the fraud and irregularities. And then obtain written representations from management relating to fraud. Okay, need to further ataupun explanation lah daripada management. And then communicate with those charged with governance. This is very important. The auditor need to communicate lah that what that has been discovered by them to the person that charged with the governance. So ini including dia punya board of directors, okay, the audit committee members, so that they will have further assistance lah, okay, bila dia try to communicate with these parties. And then communicate to regulatory and enforcement authority. This is the highest hierarchy lah bila maksudnya the fraud and irregularities is actually discovered, okay, then this is the action of the auditor need to communicate that the fraud to the regulatory and enforcement body. Dalam market tu lah, okay, kalau in Malaysia, they have to report to the Security Commission, Bursa Malaysia, okay, for example. So it depends pada market tu sendiri lah. Kalau di Malaysia, basically just responding to the Security Commission, Bursa Malaysia requirement, okay. Money. Okay, then we look at the legal liability. Legal liabilities. Okay, this is the auditor's liabilities to the client and third parties. Okay, client of course lah. So to the third parties. Alright, so there are two legal liabilities to the auditors, which is under statutory law and also common law. Okay, under statutory law and also common law. Okay, so for the under the statutory law, okay, it is the written law enacted by the legislative. Okay, the statutory law Maksudnya dia adalah written or provided by the government. Okay, that establish certain course of conduct that must be followed by the covered parties. And in Malaysia, we have the first one is liability to clients under the Companies Act 2016. Okay, and also duty to report of law under different acts. So we have another few acts, okay, which are okay. This is under statutory law. Okay, the first I mentioned is under the Companies Act 2016. Okay, according to this Act 2000 Companies Act, the auditor have to express an opinion on the true and fair view of the client's financial statement. Okay, this is the first under the statutory law. And we also have the other reporting duties of our auditor in Malaysia, okay, which is under few of the acts, okay, under SIA, Security Industry Act 1983, and then BAFIA, Banking and Financial Institution Act 1989, and then we have another law that under AMLA, Anti-Money Laundering Act 2001, and we also have SCA, Security Commission Act 1993. Okay, this is a thing that need to comply by the auditor, other than the Companies Act 2016. Okay, and for the Security Commission in Securities Industry Act 1983. Okay, for this act, it's govern the trading of securities on the stock exchange. And the auditors need to report breach of security law, okay, to authorities such as security commissions. So ini adalah bila auditor tu discover any securities or the shares that trade, okay, at the market, and they need to discover, and this is come under the requirement of the Security Industry Act 1983. And then under BAFIA, it is licensing and regulation of banking institution. So any violation of the BAFIA by the bankers, the auditors need to report to the central bank, okay, the Bank Negara, immediately. So ini untuk for when the auditors performing audit in the banking or financial institution lah. So the auditors need to adhere with this act, okay, BAFIA Act 1989. Bila auditor tu perform audit dalam banking lah. So bank-bank pun kena audit lah, other than the companies lah. And then AMLA, Anti-Money Laundering Act, dealing with law and penalties of money laundering, okay, and measure for preventing such activity. AMLA imposes a legal duty on reporting institution, including auditor, to report unlawful transaction to the Financial Intelligence Unit of Bank Negara. And the other act is Security Commission Act. Okay. So the Security Commission approving and registration body for prospectus issued in connection with the public securities offering. Okay, kalau untuk IPO punya company lah, okay, yang ada IPO, the auditor is responsible to report non-compliance of the act by the company, okay, or borrower in case of issuing the debenture. Okay, ni semua you belajar dalam FA kan, debenture apa semua ni. Jangan tak ingat pula. Okay. So that one is under the statutory law. Okay. And then under the common law, okay, for the common law, There are two parts there. Liability to clients due to breach of contract, negligence, and fraud. And liability to third parties due to the negligence and fraud. So what are the auditor's liability towards the client as well as to the third parties? Kalau with the clients, okay, liability to the clients due to breach of contract in accordance with the contract yang written in the engagement letter. Okay. Okay. So most audit work they involve companies that incorporated under national legislation lah. Kalau Malaysia dia we are bound under the Companies Act and all the act tadi yang kita bincangkan tadi. Okay. Over time the purpose of audit has developed. So kalau if you found that the history and the development of the auditing tu dia berlaku pada actually at the end of the 18th century, not really 19th century, because of kalau you remember about the industrial revolution that occurred. Kalau industrial revolution tu berlaku pada tahun bila kelas? Ingat tak belajar sejarah dulu you ada belajar kan? Revolution tu kalau industry revolution tu when does it actually occur, industrial revolution? Can you still remember about that? So you Ama said that is at the end of 179. Oh, ini mesti Google kan. So meaning that it is occurred at the century of 18th century, not 19 kan kalau apa ni industrial revolution, and the need of the audit is actually come at that period lah, at that century, okay, at the early of the century of 18. Okay, the necessity to have an audit ni. Alright. So kalau basically, okay, the early needs, okay, the early needs of audit, kalau you tengok kat sini, in that century, auditors were expected to prevent audited fraud and error. Okay, ini yang berlaku pada awal-awal keperluan audit itu sendiri, to detect fraud and error. However, this has been evolved lah. It's no longer to detect fraud and error, whereby it shifts to the certifying of accuracy in a financial statement. Okay, dia dah berubah lah. Okay. So the purpose of audit over a century ago, okay, at the early of the period, the early adoption of audit is purposely to detect fraud that will occur in a company. Itu tujuan asal dalam audit ini. However, okay, the early purpose has been evolved, okay, from time to time, whereby the purpose of an audit is no longer to detect the fraud of the company, but more than detecting the fraud. So, with that needs, okay, as the auditor, okay, need to updating themselves, okay, with the modern and challenges of the audit environment. Okay. Okay, I want to share you one the shots. Okay, the shot of this audit report. I letak dalam slide ni lah, that you can read it. Class, are you still with me? Kok saya cakap seorang-seorang je ni. Okay, tak cakap seorang. Alright, so this is the early of the sample of audit report at the early of the 19th century. Kalau lah you ni familiar with the audit report lah, in the dalam annual report tu you can find the independent auditor report kan. So kalau sekarang ni you boleh found how many pages class? Independent auditor report yang you boleh latest ni. Berapa pages basically? Berapa pages class? Independent auditor report. Berapa pages? Tak pernah tengok independent auditor report. Have you seen that? So how many pages sekarang ni lah independent auditor report? Suara ke? No one can voice. 2 pages. Latest. I'm asking you the latest. Latest independent auditor report berapa? Ni tak pernah tengok No. Who said? 7 pages. Tanya. Benda nak Google. So how actually you can find the sample of independent auditor report? Nak cari kat mana kelas? I want talking about one of the Malaysian companies lah. Kat mana you boleh cari?
At financial report. Bursa.
Dalam annual report. Right? Dalam annual report and you can find in one section there ada independent auditor's report. Jadi, since semua ni tak tahu, saya tak nak cerita dekat you, but I I want you to find one of the independent report. Satu seorang, at least you tahu, you belajar audit, tapi you tak tahu what will be. Actually, the independent audit report itu is the communication of the audit, kan? That report the finding of the audit. Jadi saya nak I assign everyone, semua kena cari satu independent auditor's report so that you have an idea lah, okay? So saya nak semua kena carilah one copy, kena simpan satu. Yang saya nak yang ada complete. Complete lah, saya tak nak yang pendek-pendek sangat. Sebab ada juga companies yang auditor tu very short ada. Tapi very short tu taklah short macam yang the early of the practice of audit, yang at the early century of 19 tu, tak. Macam section of the key audit matters pun tak ada. They just say that during the audit performed, there is no issue that to be disclosed as the audit matters for this company. And kalau you tengok and the following year pun macam tu juga. So it is actually found something lah di situ kan. So saya nak yang ada complete lah. Okay, so please everyone find a copy of the independent auditor's report lah. You boleh extract kan, nanti boleh download tu, dia ada financial one of the 100 pages lah of the annual report tu. Kalau tu nanti you boleh extract je, you just extract. Boleh buat online kan, you just extract the independent auditor's report copy, tak apa. Ataupun kalau you print out pun boleh on that section of the independent auditor's report. Okay? Sebab ni macam tak ada exposure ni pada independent auditor's report tu. So actually benda tu, report tu adalah yang di-prepare daripada auditor lah. And itu adalah communication to the external kan, to the external saja. Actually ada 100 pages jugalah yang auditor kena prepare, tapi yang findingsnya you boleh baca dalam independent auditors report. Okay, I hope you nampak apa yang I cuba share pada you. Okay, okay, this is another thing, okay, about the early of the report, audit report yang prepared by the auditor. During the past period of 1800 ataupun at the 18th century, the length of the audit report in London was fewer than 50 words. Very generic and used standard language. A sample of audit report at early 19th century is as follows. We have to report that we have examined the above balance sheet with the accounts and vouchers relating thereto and with the accounts received from branches and certify the same to be correct. We have certified the balance of cash at bankers and in hand. Macam tu je. So just about 50 words. This is the report. Okay, however, bila you compare dengan audit report yang sekarang ni, then you found that the time has changed, the auditing practice also changed, okay? Because of the users or the stakeholders are more knowledgeable, more informative. So then everything has been changed and being more complicated lah. When we need to report more, providing more information, more transparency, okay? And as well as the quality of performing the audit also will be enhanced lah, because a lot of things that the auditors need to do kan. Okay, that's actually the final output yang kita akan dapat from the enhancing the auditing practice of the auditor. Tapi kita tu bukan nak cakap pasal benda tu kita nak cakap pasal legal liability. Okay. Alright. So, end of 20th century sees a return to the prevention detection role as an expectation gap is addressed. Okay, now we come up with the expectation gap methods. Okay, in relation to the legislation or in relation to the liability of the auditor. The expectation gap, I'm sure that it's not the new term for you, okay? The expectation gap is the term used to describe the gap between what the auditor actually does and what users of financial statement believe he does or should do. Closing the gap is one of the profession's most pressing priorities. Okay, expectation gap, it doesn't happen. It does not happen dalam in auditing practice only between the auditors and client. Tetapi sebenarnya expectation gap ni akan berlaku dalam relationship. Betul tak, kelas? Am I right? Betul tak? Expectation gap ni. Siapa yang jawab yes ni? Anissa. So anyone boleh explain pasal expectation gap in relationship? In any relationship lah between you and your mother, between apa lagi? Between we lah yang I think that will be most related to everyone between you and your family members and especially to your parents, to your moms. Dan saya rasa mungkin expectation gap banyak berlaku waktu studying at home. Anyone boleh share your views about the expectation gap in a relationship? Masih panggil kan ni? Masih panggil ke? Anyone please? Ada ke? Kita nak discuss, tak naklah cakap pasal audit je kan? Please, anyone? Tak ada ke yang nak share? Buat boleh? Siapa? Fitri. Okay. Aha. Hmm. Mm-mm. Expectation gap maksudnya when you end your class maybe ada get 1 or 2 hours and dia akan assume you have time kan, assume you have time to assist them to do the housework, but actually kita tak ada masa pun, kita tak ada masa kan, kita tak ada masa pun untuk bantu sebab kita ada another things that we need to settle. So maksudnya miss expectation gap ni akan berlaku sebab tak faham apa yang sebenarnya kan, what we actually need to do kan. Betul lah macam tu expectation orang lain tapi sebenarnya kita tak boleh deliver that expectation tu. Then it become an issue lah di situ kan. Memang saya rasa kalau pelajar lelaki tak ada isu ni kot kan. Sebab student lelaki basically patutnya sama je lah, lelaki perempuan need to is the housework tu kan. Kadang pelajar lelaki dalam kelas ni macam mana? Maksudnya pelajar perempuan lah, girls, ladies yang selalu nampak dipersalahkan lah kan. So, mungkin sebab tu macam dia akan jadi um, tak seronok jugalah kan bila berlaku macam mana bila studying at home ni. Saya fahamlah isu tu. Tapi kalau mungkin ada mak yang bekerja, mungkin you tak okey lah kan. You can focus on the class, focus with the other words that you need to focus lah. Kalau yang all the other family members at home, macam tu. Sometimes in order to fulfill what the surrounding expectation, kita nak kena sacrifice kan. Kadang tu kena sacrifice. Tapi sometimes kita pun tak larat juga, betul tak? Tak larat juga untuk dia bangun awal ke, macam tu kan. Tapi susah nak cope with that situation. Dan tu ada juga setengah student tu dia cakap, dia kata, apa yang cakap ni? Anissa, dia cakap, tentang expectation gap gender wanita dengan citizen. Kita ada expectation wanita kena pandai masak sebelum kahwin. Kena macam masak sebelum kahwin tu, bukan semua wanita tu pandai masak. Actually, masak ni dia kena come with interest and your talent untuk buat tu. Sebab nanti kalau you masak, belajar sekalipun, you tak ada talent, you akan buat benda tu tak sedap juga. So you kena ada untuk we can say that all people can cook, tapi tak semua apa yang you masak tu sedap. Memang semua orang boleh masak. Tapi kalau tak sedap, memang ada YouTube, memang ada resipi banyak rata-rata kan. Tapi talent tu kena ada. You ni memang, you have talent. Kalau tak, semua orang boleh jadi sesiapa kan. Tak, dia macam talent. Talent tu kena berbakat untuk memasak. Ada juga orang dia berpuluh kali cuba nak buat kek, contoh example kan. Tapi sebab dia ni tak boleh, dah banyak kali cuba. At the end you hanya membazir bahan tu je. You beli tapi tak ada hasil dia. Then you have to let go. This is not your area. So you have to try your luck in other areas yang you ada talent. Kan, yang ada talent. Betul mak saya cakap kena ada talent. Tapi bukannya tak, but certain people you can develop kan, betul, boleh develop. Tapi macam setengah orang tu dia boleh develop, dia hanya belajar untuk masak, untuk resipi yang dia belajar tu je. So sebabnya you tak ada talent, you tak boleh create further, you tak boleh olah resipi tu, contohlah. Saya suka cakap macam tu sebab example cooking yang saya suka masak lah. Nak cakap ada talent tu, bolehlah sikit-sikit. Sebab saya punya interest dan part time kerja saya pun saya ada ambil tambahan. Masak-masak, buat kek, baking-baking tu. Tu saya hobi lah, hobi. Kalau macam it's too tired with working ni kan, banyak benda duk hadap, saya akan cuba, will baking lah. Baking kalau ada order tu pun saya akan buat early in the morning, saya akan bangun untuk buat tempahan kek. Tu saya suka-suka je lah. At least ada talent goreng telur. Ada juga orang tak ada talent goreng telur tu. Itu memang kesian lah. Kesian kat diri sendiri lah kan. You at least kalau lapar boleh masak nasi, goreng telur boleh makan. Tapi goreng telur pun hangit. Masak air, sekarang pakai microwave, pakai kukur. So tak payah masak air. Okay. Tadi kita nak cakap pasal expectation gap kan. Ni dah jauh masak pasal masak baking semua. Alright. Okay, expectation gap dalam relationship tadi kan. Now expectation gap between the auditor and the clients. Okay. we read again, okay? Expectation gap is a term used to describe the gap between what the auditor actually does and what users of financial statements believe he does or should do. Okay, apa yang klien nak? Klien fikir ini, oh ini yang kita akan buat. So, the closing this gap is one of the profession's most pressing priorities. So, auditors sebenarnya have to educate as well as the authority sekalipun nak kena educate that to the client that this is actually not what the auditor will do. Only this actually the auditor will done in their performing the engagement. So fraud detect material misstatement. Okay, fraud and detect of the material misstatement. Check all the documents, check all the evidence, check all the sample, and this is not the auditor will do. Okay, so ini yang klien akan expect lah. Semua benda tu auditor akan buat, collect all the evidence. Okay, actually auditor perform dia kerja berdasarkan sampel. Okay, random. Random sampling ataupun ada software atau apps yang digunakan oleh auditor untuk select the sample. Okay, and then also we'll provide the true and fair view of the financial statement only. And the auditor will provide the opinion, okay, on the financial statement. And then company law often does not address the problem of setting auditing. This task is delegated to the profession. The primary statutory source of authority in Malaysia is Companies Act. Okay, ini kita discuss tadi under the statutory law, okay, that bind the auditor lah under the Companies Act. And also the duties, functions, responsibilities and liabilities are further defined by the MIA. So kita akan ada dalam MIA yang kita covered sebelum ni, ada professional ethics kan dalam MIA, itu di bawah MIA lah yang regulate adapt and adopt, tapi actually daripada professional standard juga lah, okay. And then which sets out the standard in auditing, okay. Selain daripada MIA bylaw, MIA standard ni, International Standard of Auditing and practice note issued from time to time. Ini kita dah cover tadi kan, statutory law. So yang audit expectation gap tu, I hope that you understand lah. Okay, what is audit expectation gap between the auditor and the clients. Okay, this kita dah tengok tadi. Most of audit work is concerned with the companies incorporated under the Companies Act 2016. The Companies Act legislation serves a number of purposes. They say to ensure the competence of the auditor, independence, then auditors to perform their duties, okay, and gives the auditor certain right to help him to carry out his duties. So ini semua included dalam Companies Act. So section 263 about the qualification of auditor. Any person may apply to the Ministry of Finance to be as approved company auditor. So that individual that applying to be the approved company auditor, they must have the good character, okay, and competent to perform the duties of an auditor under the Companies Act. Upon payment of prescribed fee, approve the applicants can perform or being as a company auditor. Actually, you dah cover kan kelas about the qualification of the auditors dalam audit 1 betul tak? Betul ke tak? Ada cover hari tu under audit 1? Tak lagi? Qualification of auditor. Semua dah cover dalam audit 1 ni. You just refreshing back lah. So, And another one is about the qualification under the Company Accountant Act 1967. Okay. Section 15, the first schedule part 1 states members of the following recognized accountancy bodies are eligible to apply for license to be a company auditor. So the final examinations of University Malaya, UKM, UITM, okay. And then we also have from UUM, UPM, UIA, USM, UM, Uniton, University Multimedia, ini College of Design and Technology Malaysia. Ini yang mana? UIM UIS. Ini yang mana kelas? UIS. UIS ke? College of Design and Technology Malaysia. UIS yang dekat Selangor tu ke? You pun tak tahu. Okay, next from UMS. Then we also have from Unicel. Ni yang kita punya Uniza. And then from USIM, Unita, Inci College, MSU. Okay, the qualification required by the Accountant Act 1967 states that members of the following recognized accountancy bodies are eligible to apply for license to be a company auditor. Okay, other than qualification daripada tadi universiti kan, University of the University Malaysia University, we also have you with this qualification also can apply to be an approved company auditor. Okay, MIPA and all of this. Okay. And yang tadi pasal qualification, and now pasal disqualification, those who are not eligible or disqualified to be as the company auditor. Okay, if he is not an approved company auditor, maksudnya that not have the qualification tadi dia tak ada. If he is inducted to the company or to a corporation, okay, an amount exceeding 25,000 ringgit, okay, and if he is, his spouse is an officer of the company, a partner, employee or employee of an officer of the company. So ini semua ni, partner, semua dia punya partner, okay, partner ataupun employee. Dah cover tau dalam SAM Service Audit 1. Okay, ni semua discussing pasal disqualification to be as the auditor. Next, statutory requirements for appointment, removal and resignation. So, dia ada certain act lah untuk private company and public company. More, we are discussing basically related to the public company lah. Okay, sebab dia banyak lagi act yang related to the public company compared to private. And we also have the removal and resignation. Ni semua di bawah Companies Act kelas. Section 267, 276, the removal of the appointed auditor. Okay, under section 276, the company may remove him from office at any time upon inspection resolution through the annual general meeting. Section 281, they can resign from their post before the expiry of their term, but they must give notice of their intention to resign. Maksudnya sebelum term tu tamat, contohnya 2021, okay, tak tamat lagi, they end on end of year, 31 December, but they have the auditor have the power to resign before the expiration of the term. Tapi they must be given notice lah about the intention in written lah, why you want to resign from being as the auditor of the company. rights upon the removal. This is about the statutory rights, duties, and obligations of auditor. The rights upon the removal under Section 277, auditors who are removed by a company before the expiration of their term of office have the right to make representation in writing, right to get the appropriate fees, okay, under Section 274, and right to access information. Right of access of this information is very important to the auditor in conducting their engagement. Okay, dia kena dapat kebenaran ataupun assistance daripada company, daripada accountants, as well as the internal auditor lah yang bagi sistem pada auditor tu untuk access pada semua books, account and vouchers of their client, company and all the other related document yang membantu auditor tu untuk conduct audit tu. Okay, ada hak. So, kalau lah auditor tu tak boleh nak dihalang daripada untuk access all this information tu, so then the auditor tu boleh refuse untuk jadi auditor company tu sebab dia menyukarkan, okay, menyukarkan dia untuk complete dia punya audit task tu. Ataupun bila berlaku right cannot access to the related documents untuk perform the engagement, auditor tu boleh keluarkan qualified opinion, kan, type of audit opinion, ingat so dia boleh keluarkan qualified opinion ataupun disqualified opinion tapi with the emphasis paragraph mengatakan beberapa ni, ataupun auditor tu tak boleh provide true and fair view. Dia cakap dia tak boleh, dia not provide true and fair view opinion dia tu terus sebab dia tak access to the appropriate document lah. Dia tak boleh come out the audit opinion lah. Okay. It is section 266. Auditors to report on every balance sheet and profit and loss account laid before the company general meeting. The auditor must consider whether the financial statement have been prepared in accordance with the related act, okay, and FRS and so on. Whether the financial statements show true and fair view, whether the proper accounting records have been kept, proper return certificate for the audit received from branches not visited by the auditor. Access to the book, information and explanation, attendance of the general meeting, right to speak at general meeting. So auditor also have power to speak at general meeting on any part of the business that concern him. Then on the criminal liability. So ada soalan kelas? Do you have any questions? Ada soalan? Okay. Dan saya untuk lecture tu I nak berhenti kat sini dulu, and I hope that you could read first, okay, you could read first sebab untuk yang for slide yang seterusnya about the criminal liability ni dia banyak cases yang kita nak tengok, so hoping that you could read them first and continue during the next lecture. Okay, so we stop for this chapter kat sini dulu, slide 30. And then about your tutorial hari tu kan, ada ramai juga yang tag saya cakap tak sempat. Maybe soalan tu is quite lengthy for you to complete within 1 hour kan. Okay, tak apa, as long as you buat. As long as you buat and you trying to understand them, it's okay. Okay, it's okay. Kalau lah soalan yang simple macam first yang tutorial 1 hari tu, takkanlah sampai nak ambil masa yang lama kan. Yang tu senang je. Yang ni macam you have to try to understand the situation first before you going to provide your answer kan. Alright. So saya nak tengok sekali lalu lah untuk soalan hari tu. Tutorial we need to discuss. You, question number 1 we look at question number 1 first. You are an audit manager of Hanafiah and Co. Responsible for the audit of Senang Sensasi Maju. So you audited di Senang Sensasi Maju lah. The audit engagement partner for Senang Sensasi SSM, a listed company, has been in place for approximately 8 years. 7 tahun. Okay, quite long period. Maksudnya dah ada trade di situ kan. Dia nampak trade yang berlaku di situ. Because of the long period of the tenure there. And her son has then been offered a role with the Senang Sensasi as a sales manager. This role will entitle him to shares in Senang Sensasi Maju as part of his remuneration package. Maksudnya dia punya anak lah, her son. Senang Sensasi Maju's board of directors are considering establishing an internal audit function. And the finance director has asked the audit firm Hanafiah and Co about the differences in the role of internal audit and the external auditor. Dia nak juga daripada firm tu. If the internal audit function is established, the director has suggested that they may wish to outsource this to Hanafiah and Co lah. Nak outsource pada firm tu juga. Finance director has suggested the board that if Hanafiah and Co are appointed as internal as well as external auditors, then the fees should be renegotiated with at least 20% of all internal and external audit fees being based on the profit after tax of the company. As this will align this interest of Hanafiah and Co in Senang Sensasi Maju. Your audit assistant has highlighted a number of potential traits to independence in respect to the audit of Senang Sensasi Maju. So identify which of the following facts from the scenario represent the valid traits. So apa daripada case ni yang menunjukkan adanya ancaman dia kan? So yang pertama adalah the partner's son hold share in Senang Sensasi Maju. Kan anak dia sendiri, anak pada partner tu. And another fact is the Senang Sensasi Maju has asked for advice regarding the role of internal audit. Pun dah nampak ada trade di situ. Okay. And then Senang Sensasi Maju has asked Hanafiah and Co to carry out internal audit work. Pun tak boleh. Even the advice of audit as lagilah untuk perform internal audit work. Audit partner has been in position for 8 years. Okay, because of the long tenure. Kan? And then fees will be 20% of profit after tax. So ni pun ada the fact that that is the trade. And then bila you dah identify trade tu, you kena label lah yang tu je. So yang kalau yang mana familiarity trade di sini? Which one class is that the familiarity trade? Which one considered as a familiarity trade? Anyone? Which one the familiarity trait? Maaf boleh ulang tak? Okey. Tadi kan I dah highlight kan a few of the fact dia kan. Fact-fact yang menunjukkan berlakunya traits. So, out of all the facts yang I bagi tahu tadi tu ada 1, 2, 3, 5 kan? I provide 5. So, I tanya yang out of the 5 tadi tu, yang mana merupakan familiarity trait? Mana familiarity trait?
Yang partner yang ada anak tu.
Partner yang ada anak. Okay. Selain daripada tu, kalau familiarity trait ni, diam. Taklah, kalau macam you bagi one sentence lah. Kalau familiarity trait tu adalah because of the long tenure lah kan. The audit partner has been in position for 8 years. Itu adalah familiarity trait lah. Memang dah lama. So, familiarity trait example dalam case di atas adalah daripada yang mana audit partner has been in position for 8 years. So, itu adalah familiarity trait. Faham tak? Do you understand? Suppose you understand lah. You dah buat kan. Tapi bila I bagi jawapan tu untuk familiarity trait tu adalah when the audit partner have been in engagement for 8 years. Itu yang membawa kepada familiarity trait. Sebab dia dah lama. Dia dah lama dalam job tu. Are you understand anak kelas? You faham tak? Saya bagi tahu ni. Faham Okay. And then another second trait adalah self-interest trait. Yang mana self-interest trait kat sini? Self-interest trait. Self-interest rate bila mana pada fact yang di atas tadi tu partner son hope share in the company kan, so self-interest berlaku di situ, kepentingan peribadi dia lah bila ada kat situ anak dia kan, so because of the relationship yang exist di situ, jadi dia akan ada self-interest. Okay. And then self-review when the ask for advice regarding the role of internal audit, itu self-review kan. Dan juga the firm also will be appoint to carry out the internal audit work. Kedua kat situ berlakunya self-review. Okay. And then about the fees. yang dia akan reduce. Okay, fee will be 20%. Then the fee should be renegotiated with at least 20% off all internal and external audit fees. Example fee after tax. So itu akan menyebabkan self-interest adjustment lah di situ kan, about the fees. Alright. And then, sebelum I lupa, you all semua ni dah tanda attendance ke belum? And even memang nampak ramai yang tak, not all of you attending the class kan? Siapa yang belum tanda attendance tu, sebab nanti after the 10 you dah tak boleh tanda mark your attendance. Okay, and then kita dah mesh kan, and then identify what is the safeguard to be implemented in order to comply with code of ethics and conduct. And I explain why. So safeguard, yang pertama, the audit partner should be removed from the audit team. Sebab dia dah melibatkan, dia ada familiarity trait di situ, so kita kena remove them from the team. And then an independent review partner should be appoint, ataupun kita boleh appoint independent review partner untuk dalam that team. And then the audit partner should be removed if her son accepts the position. Tapi kalau anak dia tak accept position pun dia mesti, kalau dia tak remove pun dia ada independent reviewer kan. Okay. And then another one is Hanafa and Co should resign from the audit. To be safe, to avoid macam yang kita discuss tadi lah, liability and whatsoever, that company boleh juga resign. Lebih selamat lah. Sebab dia memang obvious dah, 7 years. Even kalau dia partner lain pun, kita appoint another partner, appoint another team, it could be has bias issue pun boleh. Could be occur there. Okay. Okay, kalau let's say the partner son accept the appointment, the position, it will be considered to the self-interest lah kan? Self-interest trait, but as the partner has already exceeded the 7 years rule, walaupun dia ada dua isu di situ, satu anak dia kind of work or accepted the position as business manager, dan dia sendiri pun partner tu dah 7 years relationship. Selama dah lama. Memang dia perlu di-rotate and appoint another partner lah. Sudah. Okay, next. You are the audit manager in audit firm of Raslam and Co. One of your client is the NYC, a company specializing in manufacture and supply of sporting equipment. NYC has been an audit client for 5 years and you have been audit manager for the past 3 years, while the audit partner has remained unchanged. You are now claiming the audit for the end of December. Following initiation with the director of NYC, I will identify the following information. So what you need to do, you have been advising apa yang you kena buat, you kena assume the relevance of any factor which may threaten the independence of Raslam and Co. for the year ending 31st December 2020. Briefly explain how each should be managed. So the threat of independence berlaku di sini sebabkan you have been the same audit partner for the last 5 years pun dah lama ya. So an audit partner's independence may be impaired where the position is retained for more than 5 years for a listed company. The reason being that the partner has become too close to the directors and staff and therefore ends with employee assessment and financial statement. Okay, and then another phase independent into of preparation of financial statement. Ya, dia prepare financial statement kan, dan dia juga ada prepare audit in previous year. While this may not have been an independent issue in the past, it is likely to be now. Sekarang ni, okay, sekarang ni akan ada isu independence di situ Prepare financial statement as well as auditing them would provide the rate of the self-review trade that if they may not see any errors or want to report error in matter that they have previously prepared. So this patutnya decline lah daripada prepare the financial statement of the company. And then attendance at social event. Attending the social event with respect to the new listing may be inappropriate lah. Okay. Because dia menunjukkan it exists with the company lah kan. There is an advocacy trade di situ. Support for a client may imply that the audit firm are too close to that client and therefore lose the independent view. So daripada independent in fact and independent in appearance lah. Okay, and this also trade to the familiarity trade. Jadi kita kena decline lah the invitation dinner tu. And clearly certain the reason so that the client could be understand. And then we have another one is unpaid taxation fee. The unpaid taxation fee is respect of various taxation service is transferred as a loan to the audit client. So audit firm should not make loan to do or receive loan from audit client. And outstanding loan will affect independence as closure of the loan may be seen as more important than providing an appropriate audit opinion. So dia akan ada konflik di situ antara providing the appropriate audit opinion dengan hutang yang belum dibayar tu. So dia nak kena discuss lah supaya dia kena cepat bayar loan tu, hutang tu, unpaid fees tu. Kalau tidak dia akan tak boleh proceed lah dengan audit work. Kalau dia tak settle dia punya unpaid fee tadi tu for the taxation. Okay. And then next part of the question, dia tanya apa? Explain why audit firm will need to communicate with the audit committee for this and the future. So yang ni pasal communication with those charged with governance lah. Okay. So yang ni semua boleh jawab. Just straightforward lah. Okay, straightforward. Sama juga yang nombor 3 tu pun straightforward. Question. Okay, so we already move to 10. So don't forget about your story nanti kan. This is me. So I will put the answer and also don't forget to send your attendance, keep your attendance for this evening. Okay, so you all ada kelas lagi ke after 10 ni? Selain daripada my class. Lagi ke tak ada dah? Okay, so see you again virtually for this evening and next week lah insyaAllah. Okay. Assalamualaikum.